If you're watching this while bleeding out on the floor, you might be thinking about calling 000. A new ad wants you to reconsider.
Some things need an emergency department, but when it's more of an emergency, call Health Direct 24/7. A registered nurse will help you find the best care, whether that's a Medicare urgent care clinic, 24/7 pharmacy, or a virtual GP appointment. When you're unwell and unsure what to do, call Health Direct.
A lot of those look like emergencies to me. Who is their workplace safety officer? Sunita, is this too gross?
Look, there is no greater call on advertising than to communicate in a crisis, and South Australian public health system is currently in crisis. Demand on the 000 line and for hospitals far exceeds supply, and they can't fix supply fast enough, so all they can do is influence the demand flow. So, you know, when 000 calls, half of those tend to be prank, misdialed, or people ringing for really silly things like, I don't know how to change the batteries in my fire alarm, I can't get the milk out of the fridge to put it in my tea, the air conditioning's not working. So before winter, where they're already seeing demand exceed supply, I think this is a very clever strategy and a very clever innovation from the government, because education campaigns about what is an emergency don't work.
But I could not get the milk out of my fridge for that tea. I had to call.
So what they will have done here is done thousands of focus groups to work out what use cases or scenarios are squeamish enough that at home you could see yourself that happening and going, is this an emergency? What should I do now? And then they redirect the flow as much as possible to this Health Direct line. So we might find it squeamish to watch, but I reckon most governments around the country will be watching very closely to see if this works, because this is the future of healthcare. It's telehealth that will solve the problem. So good on South Australia for giving it a go, I reckon.
I think it's dangerous. I think, firstly, we should not be shifting the responsibility of our healthcare onto the people and saying, well, it's you self-diagnose and figure it out and call us if you think it's serious. I think is dangerous, particularly among elderly, who often don't feel like they should report things because they're taking up too much space in the system. And I mean, it could be a major issue. My second issue is executionally. I think they totally missed it because, as Will pointed out, those gross things look serious. And if it was a case of, should I use this milk, is it past its use by date, or what the temperature should be, then maybe they should have done an ad about that stuff, playing off the idea that silly things are called in, not showing quite serious things like bleeding out, vomiting, and, you know, those
I know,
things.
that guy vomiting sounds like, it's like the start of an Outbreak movie, right? Like, you call someone, you get in a tent, mate.
Totally. I mean, and the danger of this is, you know, there's an old adage, you know, the best way to kill a bad product is to advertise it. And I'm not certain they're helping themselves with this.
I don't agree with you. I actually really quite like this for the same reasons Sunita was saying, and I do like the line very much. Emergency, emergency. Yes. We often have to make those decisions about, is this the right time? I was surprised they only showed a quick clip of a baby crying twice, because actually I think the most common scenario for wondering whether you should get in the car and go to emergency or ring Health Direct is when a baby is sick in the middle of the night. I would have done a little bit more than that. But I actually think getting people to make a phone call, the one presumes they ring and say, this is my problem, and Health Direct will say, go straight to the hospital if you're experiencing chest pains as an elderly person, or, no, that'll be fine, give them Panadol. If they're still like that in the morning, bring them in. And I think we do need that triage system. Our health costs are going through the roof, partly because we have an ageing population, and yes, I'm pointing at myself when I say that. So we have to become more disciplined about when it's actually an emergency, and this is helping people make that decision.
I have heard that we're all ageing.
We are.
I think executionally they got hung up on wanting to use that track and then putting one kind of scene per dun, 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 instead of letting us have a second to process what we were seeing. I think 4 scenarios explaining what an emergency is would have been easier for someone not primed for that message to understand the difference. Because like you, I watched it and I was like, I would have called 000 for most of those things. And I still wasn't clear at the end of it what the difference was, and I didn't feel like there was a reason for me to go and look for it any further. It'll be when I'm in an emergency next that I'll wonder if it's the right one.